Hey, this is Shaun with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast, powered by Go Tennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And if you're a fan of Bull Shark Sports, go to shop.letsgotennis.com. Get yourself a hoodie or a hat. Also, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your story on the podcast. So if you have a story, in this case, if you're not a tennis player, you got a baseball story, we'll take it. Something interesting, something boring, we don't care. Tell us a story. Lots of fun things happen on the weekends. Lots of fun things happen when kids sports. I mean, come on. Kids falling over is funny. I want to hear about it. But if you've got a story to tell, go to letsgotennis.com/my story. And you might have your story featured on the Atlanta Tennis Podcast. We've got some giveaways as well. Today's talk is attempting to answer the question, what do you do with the kid who doesn't want to be here or there? Doesn't want to be there. We'll say it that way. What do you want to do with the kid who doesn't want to be there? And today, this is Youth Sports Talk with Coach Ben Hesley. Ben, ready to talk youth sports?
Yeah, let's dive into it.
All right. So today's conversation, focuses on how to deal with the kids who aren't excited about whatever you're doing, whatever sport it is. If it's chess, baseball, dance, whatever the kid is supposed to be doing with a coach, parent, they even doesn't have to be in a group setting. Just the kid that doesn't want to be there. Whatever sport it is, we've all experienced that kid who just doesn't want to be there. So, Ben, where do you want to start? With the parents, the coach, or the kid? Where do you want to start?
Let's set the scene up so we kind of have an idea what we're talking about. Because what my thoughts are, there are cases where you get the 6-year-old or the 8-year-old kid that mom or dad signs them up for baseball or softball, and they just don't want to be there, and they're picking daisies in the outfield, or they're just don't want to play in the dirt at third base and just clearly aren't engaged in whatever's going on. But what I actually want to focus on today, I know you've got some experience with this, Shaun, with your Tennis for Children programs, is the kind of the older kids that are, and let's use tennis as the main example, that either sports just didn't work out for them. Like maybe they had a bad experience in t-ball and never came back to baseball. Maybe they tried to play soccer and got kicked in the face the first time, or nobody passed them the ball for whatever reason, and they were disinterested. So they've, and I get this, or I am getting this more often, and this is why I bring it up today. You get kids, and we talk a lot about, we spend a lot of time with focus on the kids who are competitive. We've got a lot of shows about competition and periodization and when do we incorporate strength training, and what tournaments are the best to play, and how do we talking about how do we practice outside of a match and things like that. So we focus a lot on the competitor or the developing athlete. And what about the kid who they've tried soccer, they've tried baseball, they've tried basketball, they don't want to play a real contact sport, like football or lacrosse. So mom says, hey, there's a tennis program down the street. It's after school once a week. Let's try tennis. Let's do that. And in fact, there's a lot of, USTA campaigns, like try tennis. Well, the kid that tries tennis could care less about being at tennis. So he's there or she's there. And how do we handle that kid as a coach?
All right. I might have a couple of rant moments today because this is right up my I come home and complain to my wife in the evenings alley. It's great because we see it all the time, and especially post-pandemic, as you and I have discussed previously, post-pandemic, you end up with a lot of these parents. Some of them did great. Some of them took their kids out and said, hey, you know what? We got nothing better to do. Your homework's done. Let's go do something. Take a break from work, whatever it is. You had such an opportunity, parents. I'm going to let that one go. Such an opportunity to give your kids a chance to be a year ahead in something. And instead, you handed them an iPod, or sorry, not an iPod. We don't even have those anymore. You handed them an iPad and went to work, and now they're a year behind in something, and they've got screen-induced autism. Good job, parents. But those of you that did well, you know what? I love it. You took your kids out, you played catch, whatever it is, you had that moment. But so many kids we see, Ben, today, they come in and they didn't work out in team sports. They're like, oh, my kid tried these team sports, didn't work out. I'm like, oh, great. Thanks. You just brought me the kid that none of the other kids like. Thanks a lot. and the kid that probably didn't play catch with his parents, male, female, doesn't matter, play catch. Teach them how to dodge a flying object. Maybe that's good in life at some point. I mean, I know we're not running from dinosaurs, but come on, help these kids understand things move around them, that spatial awareness is going to matter. These kids come in and they're terrible. They're terrible. They eventually love it because, Ben, is what we're talking about today, is the kid that originally doesn't want to be there. It is our job as the coach to draw them in, and it's got to be fun. And tennis can be very technical. It can be very difficult. It's hard to learn. But if it's fun and there are gummies at the end, which is what we do, and say, hey, you know what? Even if you don't love tennis, and I say, even if you don't like me, here's some gummies. We'll see you next week. And the kids go, oh, we do like you, Coach Shaun. So you got to have a good time with the kids, even if it almost seems like, what was one of our episodes, Ben, where it doesn't look like tennis. It doesn't look the same.
Yeah, and it's not going to look like tennis. I mean, you're just. I mean, and we had that conversation like one of our first shows about that, was like they're not even new to tennis. They're new to sport. They're new to athleticism. Some of these kids are new to physical activity. I mean, we were joking before we came on here today, and I was telling you about the kid who's like complaining because it's like, oh my God, coach, it's so hot out here. It's so hot. I'm like, it's 65 degrees, and you're here for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna die at summer camp. Because it's going to be like 92 and you're there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. 5 days in a row.
And that's a great point, because one of the things we talk about a lot with new parents is it's about the coach, but it's also, I will admit, it's also about the setting. If you take your kid and their first experience is you're on vacation in Tampa, Florida, and you send them to a summer camp and it's tennis and he's out there for 4 hours, 3 hours, doesn't matter. That kid's going to come back and you know what? He's going to hate tennis. He doesn't realize it was the sun and it was in Tampa. He doesn't know that. It's the association. So we've got to do better as parents. I'm a parent. Ben, you're a parent. Everybody's a parent. But we've got to do better in realizing we're putting these kids in situations. Let's say they don't want to be there in the first place. Okay. Do I have a coach that's capable of drawing them in and getting them to be interested at a T-ball level? Come on. So the kid that's picking his nose in the outfield and building sandcastles on third base. We know that kid. I remember being a kid playing T-ball and I had to roll the ball to the first baseman because he couldn't catch. But that's okay. Like, that's the fun part. But was it the coach that makes it awesome?
It's okay when you're 5,
yeah.
Right? And that's fun and cute, and that's T-ball. And I mean, I remember my son, even coach pitch at 7 years old, was playing shortstop, and they hit the ball to him, and he picks it up, and he doesn't even look at the first baseman. He just fields it and sprints and tags the kid out before he crosses first base. And that's part of that era of baseball. But the kids I'm talking about, Shaun, they're 11, 12, 13. That's not fun and cute anymore. That's sad, and that's alarming to where they're going. Oh yeah, sure. But that's like, what are they going to be like as adults?
Yeah, floppy.
Like if you and I are in an office space together, and I'm like, hey man, can you hand me, I don't know if they use pens at this point. Maybe they're all on computers. They don't have to worry about this. But it's like, or it's like, hey, hey, can you plug in my computer for me? And they're like, well, they can't even coordinate the plug to the outlet. Like
right.
That's the level of lack of coordination that we're at. Okay. And because I have these kids that are, yeah, man, they're 11, 12. I mean, it's almost like, don't even bring their rackets. This isn't tennis class. This is catching skills class. This is tossing and catching class, because that's what we're going to have to do for the next 3 months, right? 6 weeks, whatever. Because then you also have the social side, right? Like, if I'm 5 and I can't catch, like, nobody else can really catch. Whatever. I'm here with Joe. He's my buddy. It's fun. We got the uniform on. Life's great. Mom's taking pictures. It's a different atmosphere. And you talked about environment. Mm-hmm. But if I'm 12 and I'm a really crappy athlete, like, my socialization with other kids is like, man, they know I suck.
There's embarrassment.
I don't want them to. Yeah. I don't want to show out that I suck. So I just don't even do it. Like, I had a kid last week. We were playing champs and challengers, and I'm just kind of doing my thing, and I'm like, man, he hasn't played in like a while. Like I'm thinking to myself, I haven't seen this kid play a point yet. And like we've been playing this game for like 3 or 4 minutes. Like surely he should have a turn by now. And so I kind of start watching. And I'm just watching him, and he's like,
Staying in the
yeah,
back of the line.
literally. So there's 5 kids on the court, right? So we have or sorry, there were 6 kids on the court. Sorry, six kids on the court. It was 4 in this line. So we had 2 kids on one side. They're the champs, and they're like rotating out every point. So if you win, you become the champ. And then while the rotation's going on, the second champ comes in, and he or she's playing somebody else. It kind of keeps the flow of the game going. So I always like to do multiple champs. But in this case, there's 4 kids on the challenger side, right? And I notice like every time this kid gets about up to his turn, he just kind of bumps out of line and goes. And I'm like, he never played. Like, I mean, he finally did because I kind of pulled him aside and talked to him. And but it was like, man, he doesn't want to play because he knows he's not good.
Mhm.
He doesn't want to be there, and he doesn't want everybody else to know that to see that he's not even good, right? So if he just plays the old "I don't give a crap" card, which
Mhm.
most preteens and teens do, then he's all good, and he'll just hang out there for an hour till mom comes and whatever.
Yeah. And so it is a little bit. I had a conversation with some kids recently meaning the last few years, where it was trying to work with a kid, and they have to be old enough to understand this concept. But it's, hey, hey, Johnny, you got to be here anyway. You're stuck here with me, right? I can be a lot of fun, right? Or you can sit around and not be interested and not have any fun. But you got a choice as to how you spend your time while you're here. So 2 things. One, go ahead and choose to have fun and play the games. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. We're all learning here. We're all bad at tennis. It's
No,
okay. That's why it's fun and funny when we miss. These things are funny, especially sometimes the way we miss. But the other one is, hey, look, this could be worse. If you say, hey, I'm playing tennis and I don't really want to be here, your parents are going to pick something for you. And next time they might pick something horrible, something worse than tennis. So compare your time here with me or with Coach Ben. Compare your time, kid. I'm talking to the kid now. And consider, would you rather be somewhere else? I don't want to be home playing video games. Well, of course you do. And there's some bad parenting for you. But okay, of course you do. But you can't because your parents aren't going to let you, at least for this hour in the week. So would you rather be doing something else, maybe that you want to be doing less than tennis? Have fun here. You know me, I'm going to let you get away with some stuff and we're going to have a good time and we're going to joke around, but working on the kid as well. And maybe that's just a unique thing as a coach to be able to try to point out to the kid, hey, this can be a lot of fun. It could be worse. And it really isn't that bad. So why don't you choose to enjoy it? Because your parents might pick something you don't like even more.
I think that's a great point. I'm going to use that for sure. I mean, fun is a choice. You're right. I mean, we talk about you see here the board, see the posters all the time, like attitude's a choice. Choose to have a good one or whatever it is. Um, Same with having fun. I can choose to have fun or choose if it's not fun. And I like what you said. Mom and dad they're gonna keep they're frantic right now. They gotta find something for you to do. They know they've made a mistake. The parents know they've messed up in the last 4 years and let you stay on the iPad all the time or play video games too much. They recognize that, but they don't know what to do because unfortunately they were probably the same before. And we talked about this in other shows how now the parents now are of the video game era. They are the kids that were gamers. Maybe your first gen. I'm not a video game person, but they were first generation gamers,
Mhm.
right? So they grew up playing video games, and now they got a son or daughter, and now we have a pandemic on our hands, and they have no freaking clue how to handle it, right? And so now you got kids who are 4 or 5 years behind where they should be just on a physical competency standpoint,
Yeah.
right? And so, like you said, mom and dad are gonna keep finding activities for you to do. Tennis. If it's tennis, maybe we'll try golf. Maybe there's I don't know, man, fit for kids or something like that. I mean, there's those sorts of things that we got to find you something physically to do. Summertime's coming up, swim team. We're gonna. So you want to talk about something just You better like it. Swim team. You know, I mean, you got dry land workouts. You're swimming laps to and fro. It's highly technical. I mean, you talk about something freaking miserable. If you're not into it, and that's swimming, that's what swim team. Let's do swim team. Let's do swim. And we're at that stage right now in the season. A swim team season,
Hmm.
and it's absolutely brutal if you're not super into it. I would surely much rather go out and catch a frisbee in the field or a ball off the bounce on a tennis court, than be trying to do a butterfly stroke up and down a 25-meter swimming pool.
Well, and I was cool with it all because I had the different seasons, and I was gonna go do whatever was gonna allow me to
Yeah,
take
but
my
we're
shirt off and
different.
go
We
run
we
around.
like we like physical activity. If you don't
Yeah,
like physical activity, and maybe
right.
I'll use that today. Hey, Billy, what's worse? Standing here and tossing a tennis ball back and forth with Susie, or going over and getting in that pool and trying to do a butterfly
Hmm.
stroke, right? Or a backstroke, 5, 6, 7 times up and down, and then getting out and doing squats and push-ups and because you get these swim coaches who've
And
got a ton of
so many of those swim
kids.
coaches are unlikable. I hate to say it, but they're
And they're, well,
unlikable.
because you just got off of and I have a good
I don't want to be
baseball.
there either.
Yeah, I mean, well, they got, think about where they are in their season. They just got done coaching high school or
Yeah,
college swimming, or
yeah.
if they're a college swimmer, they just got done doing college swimming. And I have a good friend who in the baseball world, he always talks about, like, the coach. Like, if you get a new coach, that coach is going to coach at first, unless they learn. That coach is going to coach at whatever level they came in, whatever that level they were last, right? So you see, like, a lot of guys who are like, I'm an ex big leaguer, I'm gonna or ex minor league ball player, comes straight in and tries to coach a bunch of 12-year-olds. It doesn't work out a lot of times
Right.
because they have no patience and tolerance for what 12-year-olds baseball is like.
They
You
probably
know?
also don't know, they don't remember teaching the fundamentals. And that's a skill
Yeah,
in and of itself. It's like, all right, kids, so here's
right.
what I want
You
you to
should
do.
already know this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I see that a lot with, and we see it in tennis, right? You get some guy who's off the tour. Hey, this guy's
Yeah.
just off the tour, and now he's got a group of 10-year-olds, and he's trying to teach top spin to kids that can't even do a skip across the court. You
Uh-huh.
know,
Yeah. He's got
um,
0 hours teaching beginners.
yeah, exactly. So,
But in this
um,
case, we're looking at the kid to say, okay, hey kids, you want to be there, that's fine. Hopefully the coach wants to be there. Hopefully you've got a good coach. But the kid who doesn't want to be there, maybe it's then the last thing is talking to the parents a little bit. Okay. If you are willing to admit that your kid spends too much time on the screen, you've got to be willing to do something about it.
yeah,
And that's going to be a sacrifice for you. I would guess most parents these days, I almost don't know many people that have a stay-at-home parent. I know so many that are dual income, even if one parent's working from home.
yeah.
So when school shows up, it's like, oh, please go back to school. And I'm offended by the idea of giving my child to someone else to educate or raise. But
Well,
that's
they're not. Well, they may not be working, but it's. I mean, there's a lot of people now who maybe they lost their job during the pandemic.
hmm,
Hopefully, they were able to have some some saved up money to sort of to live on. But there are people who are in between jobs, or there's a lot of restructuring going on now in the corporate world, and so people get laid off or
times are
whatever, and
hard.
and so that's a lot of stress on a parent. If you're not, you may not be quote working today, but shit, you might have had 3 interviews,
Right.
right? And you're trying to market yourself and network and get out there and get the next
But at
job or
some
whatever it is
level,
that
at
you're
some
looking.
level to the detriment of the kid. I see so many parents going to work just so they can afford daycare. And in that case, again, that doesn't work for me. But
I mean, I know families who actually have the stay at home mom, if you will, but it's only because they figured that out, right?
right,
That
and I
what
hope
for what
so.
I would pay for daycare, I could just be at home
Yeah.
and
Raise
not work
raise your own
and
child and
raise.
play catch
Yeah,
with.
and there is that thing. There are people who do that, but
Yeah.
um I do think at the end of the day, parents, they recognize this. They need to find, not need, but they will find opportunities for that. So it relies on us coaches to try to make it as fun as possible. You've given a lot of good insight today Shaun. I appreciate that about how to make it fun. Giving the kids seems like you're saying like a little bit of buy-in. Also, maintain your structure of your group and your program. You're not the passive coach, just the babysitter coach that just lets them do whatever. But give them a little bit of collaboration, or give them a little bit of buy-in and say, hey, what would you like? I know you've mentioned that to me before. Like, what game would you like to play,
Favorite
or
game.
is there something you would like to do today that would make it has to be tennis related or sports related, but something that you to kind of get them to have as much fun as possible and make it a somewhat rewarding experience.
Yeah, and that's probably the key. So the coach has to be in, and the coach has to be able to draw that kid in, the kid that doesn't want to be there. And parents, it's hard, and I'm also a parent, but I want to push some of the parents and say, really put some time and thought into this. That if your kid is struggling to catch a ball, just go play catch with them. It doesn't mean you have to go find them a professional catching coach, right? You don't have to afford all of these. Just play catch, kick the ball back and forth, do some things with your kids, and do it more often. I had a conversation recently. If you're going to be able to do 100 hours throughout the year of something, spread it out. Don't try to jam it all in the summer. And when they're miserable, and then all of a sudden they hate exercise. I mean, I'm around so many kids during their first sweat. The first time they sweat, they've looked up and go, Coach Shaun, Coach, what is this? What's
Yeah,
going on? They've never sweated before. I'm like, you're 7. What do you mean you've never
yeah,
sweated before? How's that possible? And it's just the protective parent. And like I said, I get it. Times are hard. Times are interesting. May we live in interesting times. But Ben, so the parents as well, everybody's going to kind of buy in to help that kid understand where they are, why they're there, how good it could be, and then also, like I said, maybe it could be a lot worse.
yeah. No, I think that's a good point. It could be a lot worse, and this is not as bad as you may think it is. Yeah,
Yeah, there you
for
go.
sure.
All right, Ben Hesley, did we answer the question?
We did, Shaun, with your help. So I really appreciate your insight today.
All
Again,
right,
it's
my
good.
turn.
So it's a fun conversation.
I appreciate it. Today, Youth Sports Talk with Coach Ben Hesley. We will see you next week. Thank you, sir.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.